Hello, welcome back. In this tutorial, let me show you how we can use the switch case statement as an alternative to if-else-if ladders. We can rewrite all the if-else-if ladders with equivalent switch cases. Now, it's not advisable or suitable to rewrite all the if-else-if ladders with switch cases. Sometimes writing switch cases can be tedious or complex. So you should exactly know when you are going to use switch case statement and when you are going to stick with if-else-if. Let's first understand the syntax of switch case, and then I'm going to tell you when you are going to avoid switch case. Okay, so here is an example as you can see on the screen. Now this particular program, when executed, will ask for a number, and it reads the number in the variable n. Then it goes on comparing the number that is kept in n with some constant. If the value of n is 1, then it's printing only1, and if the value of n is 2, is actually going to print TWO2, and when n is 3, it's printing THRW3. For all the other numbers that's given by the user, the program is supposed to print invalid numbers, and that it is doing here in the else part. So it's a pretty simple program, and you can understand the logic of this if-else-if now. Now, I'm going to rewrite this using switch case. Now, you can see that we are doing equality-based comparison, and that's important. Okay, so we are actually comparing the content of n, whether that is equal with some constant or not. So this is the suitable situation when we can use switch case. So let me rewrite this. I'll just delete, and here we go with the switch case. We need to write the keyword switch. Then within the parentheses, you should write the variable n that you want to compare with some constant. We want to compare whether n equals with some constants or not. And the constants with which you want to compare the content of n goes with the cases. Case 1 means it is the section or block when that's going to be executed when the value of n is 1. So you are going to write what you want to do when the value of n is 1, and we want to print only1 here. And then we should give a break immediately after this. That's required, otherwise there will be fall through. I'll explain that. Let me just complete the code first, and then you should write when the case is 2, that means when the value of n is 2, then this particular case is true, and the control will come after this colon, and whatever you write there, any number of statements, that's going to be executed when n is 2. So we want to actually print TWO2 there, and then a break should be given in order to take the control out of the cases. Otherwise there will be fall through, and that I will explain as I said. So when the value of n is 3, it's going to print 3 THRW, and that we have within the case 3, and there is a break as usual. And finally we have this default case that is going to execute when the value of n is apart from this 1 or 2 or 3. For any other value for n, this default is going to be executed, and we want to print invalid number for all the other values for n. And since this is the last one, we don't need to give a break there, although you can give that, but that's not required actually. So now what's going to happen, let me repeat, when the value of n is 1, then this is going to be printed because case 1 is true in that case, and this is going to be printed, and break will take the control out of the switch case block. Now if you don't give this break here, there will be fall through as I said. So when the value of n is 1, this is true, so it's going to execute this, and after that it's going to execute this as well. It will fall through the cases. So if you have a common task for 1 and 2, then you can just avoid that. You can just avoid the break there, and you can just write this like this. So for 1, when the value of n is 1, it's going to print 2. When the value of n is 2, it's also going to print 2. So if you have some task like that, you can avoid the break in between. So now it's going to execute in this way. When the value of n is 1, it's going to print 1. When the value of n is 2, it's going to print 2. And when 3 is 3. And when any other value is given, it's going to print invalid number. Let's go ahead and see this. Build and run. And here we go with the execution. I'll give 2, and here it is. Now I'll run it once more, and I'll give say 5, and you can see that it's printing invalid number because in that case This default is executed. Now, if I just omit these breaks, let me show you what is going to happen there. Now, if I give 1, it's going to print 1, then 2, then 3, then invalid numbers. All the printfs are going to be executed. Okay. And if I give 2, it will start from 2. So I'll give 1, and you can see that 1, 2, 3, and invalid number all gets executed. Okay, so giving a break is reasonable. Now, you just don't need to be sequential. Okay, you can give the cases in any order. You can put the cases, case 1 here after case 2, and you can give the case 3 at the beginning here. Oops. Or you can even give the case default at the beginning. Doesn't matter. But if you're giving the case default at the beginning, you should give a break here, because that's now is the first case, right? So otherwise, if you don't give the break here, as I said, the fall through will happen. So if you give 5 after printing invalid number, it's going to print 3 as well. So here you should give a break. Now after the last one, you don't need, although you can give that doesn't going to make any difference. So it's going to work fine. Now here it is. I'm just going to give 3. It's printing 3. Now you cannot have a variable here with the cases. So you have declared this I, and you have initialized I with 3, and you're doing something like this. That's not going to happen. The compiler is going to flag error in this case. So it's not going to be compiled. Let me show you that. And there is error, red mark there. And here is the details of the error. Case level doesn't reduce to an integer constant. So that's illegal. You cannot have a variable there with the cases. Now, one more thing that I would like to tell you here is that when you are writing switch case block, you need to write everything within case. You cannot write some statement outside of case, something like this. Say you are writing this is common. Now this is not going to work, as this statement printf is not within any case. So that is illegal. Okay, let's now write another program. We want to test whether a given age is teenage or not, and we want to do this using switch case. Although we can do that easily using if-else-if, right? We need to test whether the age is greater than equals 13 and less than equals 19. If that is so, the age is teenage, otherwise it's not. So instead of writing that using if-else, we want to write that using switch case. So enter your age, that's the thing. We need to declare the variable age there, and then we need to write switch age. We need to switch the age. Now the teenage is actually going to happen when the age is 13, when the age is 14, when the age is 15, when the age is 16, age is 17, 18, and 19. For all these cases, the age is teenage. So you have noticed, right, that I have not written anything for all those cases, and I'm writing something at case 19, and I have not used the break as well. So here, teenage. And there is a new line, okay. And then I'm giving the break there. And then for the default, if any other age is given apart from these ages, it's going to print not teenage. Okay, now it's going to work fine. Now you can see that if the age is 14, it's going to come inside of this column, right, in this case, and then the fall through is going to happen. Then it will find this one, and that teenage is going to be printed, and then the break will take the control out of the switch case block. Now for any of these cases, this is going to be printed, right, because we do not have a break there. For any of these cases, the task is common, so we are writing the common task here at the last case when the case is 19. So this is how you are going to do the range based testing with switch case. Now if the range is larger, say you want to test whether n falls between 1 and 100, then you want to do something, then you'd require to write case 1, case 2 up to case 100. That's going to be tedious. So that is the situation when you'd like to avoid switch case. So if you are having a range based testing, it would be better to stick with if-else-if ladder. Now, if you are having equality-based testing, like I did in the previous example, n equals 1 or 2 or 3, like that, then you can write switch case. There is one more information that I would like to tell you here. You can switch only integer type variable or character type variable. You cannot have a real number here in the switch. You cannot have a float or double here in the switch. That's illegal. Okay, so that's all for switch case. Before I end this, I would like to execute this program. And here we go. I'll give 15 and it's showing teenage. And this time I'll give 21, not teenage. So it's working fine. So that's all for switch case. Thank you for watching this.